I mean, look, think of this as split toning. Think of this as split toning. Alright, so I can actually split tone the images and have it on the set. So that's what we're going to do with the portrait stuff. Let me go on real quick. If any of you creativity on the tech stage, because there's kind of been this merger, like the art side of broadcast has always been present, it's always graphics have always been an integral part, but now it's really starting to merge with practical sets. And I think that's a really exciting time, especially as a graphic artist. So what we're going to be talking about today is world building. And I think where our two worlds start to meet is for years as graphics artists, we have been creating these fantasy environments, these huge metal structures, these crazy sports center arenas, and now with virtual sets and the capabilities, those are becoming actual practical environments. And as you start to go around the show floor, you see this technology of AR, VR, and augmented reality. And I think it's really exciting that the virtual world and the real world are merging into one. And I actually think there's a really good potential here to push this in a way that is really innovative, really creative, and makes for a really dynamic broadcast. So I want to talk about world building, which is something that we think about all the time. We create these virtual sports graphics worlds from scratch, and we always do these really imagined futuristic things, and we finally get to bring them into reality with sets. So I want to talk about it through the lens of set design. So we have the Sports Center set, that's the original Sports Center set from 1979, and now we have the Sports Center set now. And I think what's really interesting about this is that Sports Center set looks like a spaceship, and we have normalized that. A viewer turns on to watch their sports news, and someone is reporting about basketball from a spaceship, and no one bats an eye at that. That has become normal, and we've incrementally got viewers there, right? We've educated over the years, and it's a more dynamic broadcast. But I think as we push into the future of what VR and AR sets can be, as we go to build these worlds, we can take it even further. That spaceship is still confined by physics. It's a real set, meaning it has things like construction cost, material cost. It can't animate. That is no longer a limitation as we start to unlock these VR things. And 3D artists, we've been working in these worlds forever. We've been making graphics that sense and respond to change. When graphics were first put into air, they just dissolved up. The score came above the broadcast, and then it dissolved back down. Nowadays, every graphic animates on, with a little twist and turn, the score comes up, the clearance across it, and then it packs itself up and moves out. Sets can do that too. Sets can sense and respond to change, they can be animated, we can have a dynamic broadcast. The potential of what a broadcast experience can be doesn't need to be tethered by reality anymore. And as you walk around the show floor at NAB, you'll see a million demonstrations of cameras, real-time renders that can do this, and of course the tie back with Maxon is designed to create these futuristic worlds. And I think the really important thing there is futuristic, because there was always the first challenge when virtual sets came along. The bar for success was, let's make sure it doesn't look like a virtual set. We got there. We can render realistic mahogany, no problem. We can make it look real. The challenge now is not let's make it real, is what is the best possible product? What is the most interesting and dynamic set that we can build? Reality be damned. And I think really dynamic and engaging environment, that will be the expectation. Let's think about what can make the best possible broadcast, not what has reality done before. So I'm just going to show a couple of case studies and examples of like how we've got there. So this is sports a while back. This was a pitch. It didn't ultimately get selected. It's a pretty simple example. Taking place. And you can see there's those rings in there that animate, right, as we change camera angles. We don't need to go full Transformers with the sets. We don't need to scare audiences right out the gate, but we can still have reactionary sets that change and rearrange in a mild way that's still pleasant. You can't move 10-ton pieces of steel in reality, but as virtual sets take over, we can. We can build new worlds that are in an exciting new way. But I think we can even take it a step further. So this is a graphics package that we did for Sports, WNBA, and it's a pretty traditional graphics package in the sense it's a large arena, an imaginative space with a lot of lights and flares. Run that back. I'm going to play that again. But I think what's interesting about that space that we developed that to be visually appealing, not to be a functional space. But when we look back at it, we're like, how sweet would that be as a set, as a virtual set? And you can take it even a step further, where your graphics package, which is always this exaggerated animation, could be the same environment that your set lives in. Those don't need to be different spaces anymore. And I think what Maxon does really well in these tools, the art tools have always been about building this imagination first and creativity first, and then reality comes later. And now we don't have to differentiate between those, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm just going to show. Oh, I can run it back. How cool would it be if talent was walking in there, like that animation airs, and then the talent comes walking in to talk about the broadcast? Maybe a little over the top, but I think also people look at it and be like, okay, that was pretty cool. I'm going to show. This is the build for it. And again, the tools that this 3D software has is designed around art and multiplication. We can design these things, these spaces in a way that don't think about architecture. It's a different paradigm of thinking, which I really like. So this is just a demonstration. There's 1,000 basketballs with these corners, and all these artistic tools have been made to make a visually unique and rewarding experience, not practicality. And I think as we move into set design, let's blow the lid off this. Let's bring art into our practical sets. Just a couple other examples. I thought these were fun because a couple of these are actual sets, virtual sets, and then a couple of these are motion graphics. And I don't really think we need to differentiate between them anymore. The bar for success for what sets can be and what's possible with these tools going forward isn't what reality is capable of, it's what's the most dynamic and interesting product. And I think visual software is a great landing place for this, because that's what it's been doing for years. This visual software, Maxon 3D, has been focusing on creating interesting and dynamic worlds, not just what's possible. And that's what I want to do in the future. So let's make some really cool sets. That's all I'm going to talk about, guys.
Out as we look at some of the new and emerging technologies. It's a separate group from the standards committee, which is really the foundation of SIFTI over the last 40 plus years. So what we're looking at is what are some of the best practices, not what standards can we set up. The first thing that we looked at was looking at the emerging on-set virtual production workflows. We started off by first defining kind of what that workflow looked like, and as you can see here, there's a wall chart here that you can go and download from the SIFTI site. If you go to SIFTI.org and look up in the upper navigation bar, you'll see the RIS up there. This wall chart was about a year's worth of effort, kind of coalescing what we felt were some of the workflow steps and some of the groupings of effort that were in on-set virtual production. From that, our next year, we started looking at each of the individual steps from on-set, and we worked forward on that, looking at first camera and lens metadata. What did that mean in terms of on-set virtual production? So this was data that would be captured that would tell us about the different aspects of the media that was being recorded, as well as aspects of the lens, be it the zoom settings, the focus, apertures, things like this that we wanted to bring in, and then capture all that. So we're trying to find out what is really necessary to capture in those efforts that we then need to pass on into ultimately the render engine that we're going to be doing real-time rendering in the virtual production space. So we published a paper at NAB this last year that was the first effort on this. We're going through a series of what we call sprints, where we're trying to work in small little chunks in very defined timelines to try and continuously output information. Currently, we're in 2 sprints. We're looking at the next step from the metadata on the camera, and that would be tracking metadata. Where is the camera in space relative to all the other objects in space as well? And what information do we need from that? And what is the best way to acquire and manipulate that information? Additionally, running concurrent with that is the idea of color. Now, this is where it gets very exciting, because color management has traditionally been a science that's been used in the post-production realm. But as we've seen with the utilization of on-set virtual production and in-camera visual effects, a lot of what was done in post-production is now happening in real time. So we have the render engines on set that are taking all the data, rendering the proper aspects out, and putting those back on the LED walls. And color is a very important part of that. So the discussion is, well, where does that take place? Does that take place in the camera with a lookup table? Or does that happen on the wall? Do we actually manage the color before it gets acquired by the camera? Or do we continue to push it downstream into a post-color management scenario? All of these are things that we discuss on our regular meetings for the RIS. And we hope to be publishing, again, a series of papers on the camera tracking and the color at NAB again in Las Vegas in April. If you'd like to be a part of this opportunity, you can go to the RIS website and submit an application to participate. We're looking for both professionals and, as you can see, vendors. We do participate in this as well. It helps us to provide back information as well as understand some of the feedback from how some of the field, how the operations are being done by the professionals in the field. So this is a regular, ongoing, scheduled series of meetings. They generally happen every 2 weeks for the sprints to look at the data, and then once a month the overall group comes together. Along with the actual workflow, we have an education substream that's also a work stream that's also looking at how we outreach to the educational community, get the knowledge out there to the incoming professionals, as well as help our existing professional base get new knowledge or new work ideas. And then finally is some of the outreach to other organizations, and some of that is through our wall chart, which is going to be growing recently. In the recent meetings, we've identified that we're going to turn this into a interactive component. So as you roll over it on the website, you'll get more detailed information. You can click through it. But part of that as well is working with what we're going to hear about now, and that is the open services organization. So I'll pitch to Chris here.
Yeah, thanks, David. And so, yeah, as you mentioned, the RIS has really 2 different components, right? And they sound eerily similar, which is perhaps unfortunate. But so you got the OSVP part for the virtual production, not to be confused with the OSA part, which talks about services and interoperability between media services, making everything work well together. And so, I think we trace a kind of similar history. The OSA group's been around about 4 years now, most of that being pandemic time.
Inefficient. So if you require a port per stream and you have 3 streams or 5 streams, it's no big deal. But if you're Fox and you have 196 affiliates, primary and backup, into the cloud, you're taking those 400 streams into tag for monitoring. That's another 400 streams. You're transcoding, you're taking it to the edge, and then you're distributing those 400 streams to multiple takers. Well, that quickly turns into 4,000 streams. So if you're doing 4,000 ports, that's just can't do it. It doesn't scale. Not effective. Not to mention Zen Master on top of that, which allows you to manage and monitor that. The other thing, there's solutions that are VM inefficient, that require a VM per stream. That, again, when you start talking about hundreds or even thousands of streams, that's extremely inefficient. So Zen Master is our control plane that's over the entire solution. Really unprecedented in terms of the telemetry and the analytics it gives you. not only to monitor and do root cause analysis and fix problems, but it's also how you set everything up. And that really abstracts the complexity away and allows you to implement and operate at least 50% less than most other solutions out there. One of the things that we introduced at NAB, and it continues to evolve and get better, is our incidents. And we have something called an intelligent data platform. And what that platform does is it does advanced analytics, ML, and AI. And one of the ways we're doing that is there's something we call MoCA, which is multi-object correlation analysis. So it looks at all the objects within a workflow. It looks at networks, looks at transport stream, it looks at, cloud environments, it looks at CPU, it looks at, many dozens of different telemetry data points across all the objects, correlates them, and then gives you a root cause with all the appropriate graphs, all the appropriate logs, and everything you need to actually have an answer to that. And there's a number that a lot of people talk about for a broadcast channel. The total cost of RCA a year is about $500,000. So if you can save 25%, even 10%, it becomes, per broadcast channel, it becomes really significant. And then another thing is the intangibles, and lowest latency. I mean, we have forward error correction that we've written that allows us to go, really into the low milliseconds. I know there's other open source protocols that talk about sub-second, but without forward error correction, you're not getting under 2 seconds. Just not. So things like that, quality of service, the things like hitless failover that allows you to patent the technology that you can have hitless streams if something does happen. The fact that we support all the industry protocols, so whatever you're taking in or putting out, provides you with some unique future-proof capabilities. And then the last thing is ultra scalable. So you may start small, you may start medium, but if you start getting into anything with scale, you're going to find yourself very challenged. You don't want to start in one environment and then have to re-engineer everything into another
production platform that allows you to take your TriCaster and switch it directly into the cloud without having to take anything with you. So that means that you can collaborate with talented video producers from all over the world to create your show. So you can have one venue set up and have their camera operators get all of their stuff and hook it up to NDI, send it to the cloud via NDI bridge, and then bring it into your system, and you don't have to go anywhere. You can literally sit at home and do your show, and it's just like having a TriCaster right there in the room with you. And what's awesome about it as well is it's a pay-as-you-go pricing. So let's say that you're running, you're doing a production for like football, for example. You're doing that for maybe 6 or 7 months, and then for the rest of the year, you're not using it. Cool. Just turn it off and pick it up next season. So that's one of the awesome things about it. And so it, again, saves you on your money as far as traveling, setting up, all that jazz. Now, with our TriCasters, all of the tools and features that are in the TriCaster are all scalable depending on what you want to do. So whether you're working with the TriCaster Mini Go all the way to the Vector, they're all just the same tools, just more of them, or they can do more things. So for example, when you're driving around in your car, you're driving with the steering wheel, gas pedal, brake pedal. Cool, but if you need to haul more stuff, and you need to get like a U-Haul, for example, well, you're still operating it with your steering wheel gas. Now, one of the things I want to show y'all here is switching over to the graphics side of things is VizFlowX. Now, VizFlowX is our HTML5 based graphics generator that allows you to create. Why isn't that quit playing? Because I'm on the wrong source. That's why. All right. So this allows you to create, say, crawls, for example, lower thirds, over-the-shoulder graphics, and bugs. Pretty much anything that you need to create amazing graphics. Now, what's awesome about VizFlowX is it's able to integrate with its data connectors, so you can bring in feeds from, say, like social media, stats. You can create your own polls, etc. Now, when you're creating all of this, it is, like I said, in the cloud, so you can create it and execute it via just any internet browser. So, for example, a couple weeks ago, I did a webinar in San Antonio where I'm sitting in front of my workstation, kind of like this, and my graphics operator had to have his appendix removed the day before the show, and I'm like, what am I going to do for my show? I don't have my graphics operator here. He was like, that's cool, I'm sitting at home, getting fluids, etc. Opens up his laptop, and then he starts doing all of the graphics from wherever he was. And I was just on a Teams call saying, all right, switch to this, and doing it that way. So pretty dang awesome. You don't have to even be anywhere near your equipment anymore to make this stuff. The future is amazing. Now, for even more graphics capability, we also offer Viz Trio, which allows you to create complete 3D rendered graphics via the Viz Engine 5 engine, and then incorporate those into your graphics, into your show, the exact same way. And what's awesome about it is it's adaptive graphics, so no matter whether your audience is watching this horizontally, 16:9, or vertically, 9:16, or even a square format, it will adjust accordingly so that your audience is getting all the information on screen in the format that they need to be taking a look at. Alright, now every TriCaster comes with the ability to key out your sources and then embed them into a virtual environment, either using the embedded virtual sets, or you can create your own using Viz Virtual Studio. Now, what's awesome about this, again, it takes advantage of the Viz Engine 5 real-time graphics rendering, and allows you to take a boring green screen like that and then put it into an amazing AR graphics engine here. So you've seen these in like whenever elections come around, or like sports, for example. Like you'll see some clips that we have in here where they're not actually in a Capitol building, they're in a virtual studio like that. And what's awesome about it is it has its advanced camera tracking tool that will allow you to move your camera and track your movements within that virtual environment, embedding them directly into these awesome virtual sets. Now, as far as controlling your show, there are multiple ways to do that, starting with the control panels. Now, this is the TriCaster Flex, the world's first NDI-based control panel that allows you to switch your show from anywhere your network touches. Because normally, like video operators like us, we're kind of crammed in the corner somewhere in some dark basement with all of our equipment, connected to each other, which can get really uncomfortable. But what's nice about this is all you need for this to work is just a network connection, so you can go sit up in the VIP booth if you want and have some air conditioning, have a drink if you want, and then switch your show from there. So it allows you to switch your show, manage your graphics. It has audio inputs on the front of it as well, so that if you need to plug something in really quick, you're not having to reach around to the back, just stick it in there, good to go. And anywhere the network touches, you're able to get to it. Now, with the TriCaster Flex Dual, which is our new system that you can see over in the JB&A booth, this is an incredible control panel that allows you to fully customize your show. So instead of just doing everything that I mentioned with Flex, you can do with this as well, but even more, using its utility delegate system, to where you can start to customize how you want your control surface to be laid out. So you can fire off macros from there, fire off using the 10-key system, advanced macros, a lot of different things. And as far as macros are concerned, that's kind of our little secret way of saying automation. So with macros, like for example, let's think about doing like a news show, right? When you're starting off your broadcast, you're queuing up your music, you're playing your intro graphics, your camera is zooming in, you're bringing up the lower thirds, yada yada yada. That's a lot to start jumping and start pressing buttons left and right? So with our macros engine, you can record those actions on the TriCaster and then play those actions back with just a touch of the button. That way you're not having to do everything yourself. You just hit one button, because that's going to happen every single time, consistently every time. And macros can be controlled by a number of different ways, like for example the Elgato Stream Deck. Hey, there it is right there. You can use that to control your macros. You can use Live Panel, which is my favorite tool to use, because basically a Live Panel allows you to create or to execute your macros via a web-based browser. So you can use something like your cell phone and just type in your IP address and then start walking around and switching your show directly from there. As long as you have a network on your devices, you're good to go. And then another favorite tool that I really love that I don't think gets enough love is Live Story Creator. What that allows you to do is have the story tell your story for you. So you can write out your script in a Word document, which is pretty much where they all start out, and then add comments to your Word document. And as you play out your script from the teleprompter, when you get to those certain key sections, you can have it execute commands on the TriCaster for you. So your TD is just sitting there going, all right, I hit play, and I'm just going to watch and get paid for it, which is pretty dang awesome. Like, I'm a one-man operation in San Antonio, so that's kind of how I do my shows. So that's me. Oh, you're talking about those. Okay. So, next thing we'll take a look at is I hit play button here.
By using a tether, the cell.